We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talents at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Game Time Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to work. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of Gym Session, brought to you by the Idaho Underground Sports Network. We, on behalf of the Idaho Underground Sports Network, we wish everybody, hopefully you guys had a great, Christmas break, holiday break, however you celebrate that. We're coming back, though. We've got basketball. Basketball never ends. Basketball never stops, and that's why we are excited to bring you, get out of the holiday break and bring you some more content today. We want to remind you guys that here on the channel, we want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this with the rest of the people that are around, all the fans around the valley, all the fans around the state of Idaho for that matter. Share this to them, because the more subscribers we have, the better we can support you guys and the more people we can reach and share this content too. So please subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. If you guys are not already doing so, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Idaho Underground Sports on Instagram. That's our bread and butter. We say it every single week, and we stand by that. You got the best graphics in the world with Ty from Boise Sports Talk. You got the dopest videos from Cherry Films, Lane from Cherry Films. You got AJ breaking down everything. He is truly the guru of basketball. He knows everything around the state, knows every player in depth more than any other sports outlet out there, and I will hold that down. I will not fall away from that. That is exactly what it is. We have the knowledge here more than any sports network in the entire state of Idaho, and I fully believe that. So come check us out on Instagram at Idaho Underground Sports. That's where we're at. And we are new to Twitter, somewhat new to Twitter, but we are growing slowly. And every week we ask you guys to do the same thing. Follow us on Twitter at ID Underground SN. You'll see it here on the screen. Now, Twitter is good because we do have a lot of connections and followers from college recruiters and college coaches and so forth. So it's always good to have those connections. So please follow us there, because we love to retweet the content that's out there. We'd like to get you guys out there. That's the whole point of this, is to get the exposure for the athletes in the state of Idaho. Unfortunately, what we've seen, that's why we started the Idaho Underground Sports Network, is Idaho is a little behind the times. We're getting there, but it's a little behind the times in regards to the exposure. With the conversations I've had with college coaches, is they just don't know what's going on in Idaho. We don't have a lot of film ready for a lot of people, but we're making strides. We're making movements there to get more exposure for the athletes, for the coaches, and for the programs around the state of Idaho. And that's from all levels of basketball. It's not just the 5A level. We're trying to break into different levels and football and everything, so that you guys can see these athletes that are here, and we call them the hidden gems because we are the gem state. One last thing to say of a housekeeping item. If you haven't done so already, go pick up your merch, iusnflames.com. That stands for Idaho Underground Sports Network. Ty's repping it, and AJ's got his EBC gear on. I've got my GTG gear, and so Ty's basically the only one repping the actual company. So thank you, Ty.
I showed up to work dressed for work.
Hey, chill with that, bro. I'm about it. It's a green shoe for Christmas. Chill.
No, I got you. So AJ's good too. I apologize. I'm behind the 8 ball there, but Ty did show up dressed for the occasion. My bad. Go to iusnflames.com. We'll have the link in the description as well, so you guys can go pick up your merch. But if you want to support us, people always ask, how can we support you guys? One, and first and foremost, contact us, and we can talk to you guys about some opportunities where we can work together. And then secondly, we always have our merch lines there that you guys can purchase some stuff, and that helps us be able to continue to do what we do. Now, moving forward on the show, we're really excited because we are bringing on a special guest today. The man was actually on my show for the Game Time Guru a little over a year ago, but we talked about his football career, right? We got to talk more about his football career. But when I was talking to him, guys, it was cool because he hadn't quite yet taken over the men's side of the things over at Eagle. And I remember being super excited because as soon as he took over the men's side of Eagle, I've been following his career since. And it's been super exciting. And we all got to catch an amazing game last week. Arguably, I don't even think it's arguably, it is the game of the year. And I don't know if you're going to be able to top that. That'll be I should never say never, but that was arguably one of the best games I've ever seen in a high school setting, especially in the state of Idaho. And we got to see his program take down one of the top 2 teams in the state in Owyhee in a 4 overtime battle. And we're going to talk to him today about, what it's like, the program over at Eagle, what they're building, talk a little bit about that game. And we'll have some questions for him on what we can expect from, Eagle going forward as well, because they are one of our top dogs. AJ, those, he loves those guys, and he's been very adamant about making sure everybody knows those dudes are for real. He's been talking about it before the season even started, and now I think that people are starting to see it. So we're going to be talking to the guy who's in charge of it all over there. His name is Cody Pickett. We're going to bring him on. He's the head coach. So, Cody, thanks for joining us on the show, man, and being willing to take time out of your busy schedule. And apologize at the beginning for, your wife as well. So we apologize to her for taking you away from her, but thanks for joining us, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to first I'm going to start real quick, Cody. I'm excited to talk to you. Last week, we talked about that 4 overtime battle against Owyhee. Owyee's kind of, they bring a show that's kind of, they've had the highlights, they've been on social media all summer long. They've got a lot of the spotlight, I should say. But over here in the city of Eagle, you guys are doing your thing, and you've always been doing your thing. It's just maybe you don't have the spotlight, or maybe it's just quiet dogs over there. But I want to talk about the preparation for this season and what you guys expected going into the year. You guys lost Miguel going into the season, and there was a couple switches around. But I'm curious. I want to hear from you, Cody, like what was happening behind the scenes when you guys were preparing for this season, because you had to have known what you guys had in that locker room.
Yeah, that's a long, hopefully not too long-winded of an answer for you, but I'm just excited to actually have basketball back in the state of Idaho. Last year was our first year, but it just never felt normal. It was the Corona task force with basketball on the side, so for this year, I knew we had a squad that was capable of winning some games, but I was excited to have people back in the stands and just get Idaho basketball back where it needs to be. So that was the main excitement, just to start a real season. I know it was technically my second year, but it was really my first year because we didn't have a summer together. And, I listen to you guys talk, and we do a lot of things, and takes a while for our system to kind of get in place. So this last off season was really a time for us to gel. So we got some good players. We only returned 3 varsity guys, but we got a long ways to go, but we're excited about where we could be in February and March.
Heck yeah. AJ, what do you got for Coach Pickett?
Coach, it seems like you're always dealing with something. You lost Miguel. Andrew Deaton left, which is a guy that's contributing for a solid Centennial team. You got a guy like Josh Christensen who left. But you guys are still 15 deep. So I don't know what's in the water over there, but you guys have players everywhere. I know that senior group well. You have guys that didn't play the other day against Owyhee who could be contributors on some of these other teams. And we talked about your system last year a little bit about, man, how does he make that work? That's tough. That's got to be tough on finding a rhythm. But it seems like with how deep you guys are this year, maybe a little bit deeper than last year, it seems to be gelling pretty well. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the kids and maybe guys not maybe getting the minutes they want? That's got to be tough as a coach, but it seems like you're making it work. Is it the group you have, or is it something you're doing? I'm curious.
No, the group's special. It's all the kids. They're a special group. Their character is through the roof. They're great guys. We could have lots of problems because, like you said, we have a bunch of guys that can play and want minutes. And, it's early in the year, but they've done a great job, like we say, blocking out the noise. There's going to be lots of noise, ups and downs and things like that. If we can stay tight with our coaching staff and our players and kind of block out the noise, it's going to be a special year for us. But like you said, our guys have great character. They're fantastic kids to coach. We've lost some guys, and we had guys that we cut that could have made teams other places. We really did. There was a handful of guys that well, AJ, that would be in the lineup and playing on other teams that didn't even decided not to come out. So it's a situation that could be difficult if the character of our kids weren't so special. They're a special group, and I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to coach them. But yeah, we have a lot of guys from, you can make an argument, and I know there's that's part of blocking out the noise. There's family members or club coaches and stuff that could argue guys 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 that should be in the top 5. So, we're going to do the best we can to make those adjustments as a coaching staff. There's going to be some ups and downs early in the year, like there always is with our teams. But we're confident by February or March, we'll do the best we can to have it figured out by then, because that's when it really matters. These games, it was awesome to beat Owyhee the other night. They're a fantastic team. Meridian got after us the game before that, and that's all trial and error. I tell my guys, I mean, if they gave you the ring, if they gave you the blue trophy now, it wouldn't mean anything. So all these highs and lows throughout the year make it special if you're able to get it done in March.
I dig that. Ty, what do you got for Coach, man?
Yeah, first off, hey, thanks for being here. Glad you could be a part of this with us. These guys kind of touched on actually what I was going to ask, but instead I'll bring it back to what we touched on at the beginning, and that's the Owyhee game that you guys just had. I would love to know, first off, I mean, is this the craziest game you've coached, being on the sidelines?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it was, I mean, as far as the atmosphere and the game, absolutely. I mean, I loved coaching girls, and I was with the boys for 2 years. We had some crazy games at North Star, and then, 7 years of being really successful at Eagle. But as far as that atmosphere, I mean, that atmosphere is second to none. I don't care, what you say. I mean, the gym, there's people standing around the sides of the court. I told my guys after, I've been very fortunate to play sports for a long time. I played football till I was 31 and played in some big time atmospheres, but there was nothing to me as special as a high school basketball atmosphere. And for both squads, obviously Owyhee, it stinks to not come out on top, but that high school basketball atmosphere, that was amazing. So, yeah, I mean, we were very fortunate to come out on top. There's lots of things that we could have did different, I'm sure, as they would say the same. But as far as a fun environment and just great for the state of Idaho and high school basketball, we're fortunate to be a part of it.
Absolutely. At one point, I made a mental note of it, and there was a total of 15 people with cameras between each baseline. And that's unheard of for a regular season high school basketball game in Idaho. So I think you nailed that one right on the head. That the atmosphere was crazy. Last question for you from me. As the game, you go into the first overtime, you go into second overtime, and now Jack's out of the game. How did your guys' game plan kind of shift towards the later portion of the game?
We're just trying to take every possession as it comes. I don't want to. Jack's amazing. I mean, he's arguably the best player in the state. So, that was a big deal from them. But, we ended up losing Landon and Gage, and, it's just the ebbs and flows of the game. So, for us, we were just trying to focus on, we like to use the slogan, being the best versions of ourselves. And so we were trying to execute, and, whatever the situation was, it was possession by possession. So there wasn't anything drastically we changed once he went out. I mean, and again, that's no disrespect to Jack. He's awesome, so that was a huge deal for them. But we were just trying to take every possession in stride. I was just trying to have my headache stop, after 3 or 4 overtimes. My head was pounding so hard. I was trying to focus on being able to give my guys some good calls. But yeah, I'm just proud of our guys to be able to find a way to get a win against a fantastic team and in an adverse situation. And our crowd was awesome, and so was theirs. I mean, just an awesome high school basketball atmosphere. And with that being said, I was in McCall the last couple of days, and I spent about 2 hours trying to get through the film, and I only got to halftime. We got a lot that we need to correct. We need to correct. And that's, again, with all due respect to Owyhee, they're fantastic, and hopefully we can give them a game next time we play them. But we got to get better because we made a lot of mistakes.
It's a sign of a great coach right there. Even in a win, there's plenty to improve on, always.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's awesome that you even said that, though. I think that actually speaks to the greatness of your team as well, Cody. And I'm sure, Coach Harrington could say the same thing. Like, they'll look at film and be like, there's a lot we can improve on. But the fact that you guys were able to pull out a victory when you say that there's so much that you can improve on still, it speaks to the greatness of the team. And like you said, we'll go back to what you said, the character of the kids and the way that they play as well. One question I wanted to bring by you as well. I've alluded to this in the past, and people might say, well, slow your roll, Shane, because I've said, well, the coach in the NBA that I always think has one of the best at drawing plays out of timeouts is Steve Kerr. He's phenomenal at getting his players in the right positions, even when the other team knows what they're trying to get. For example, you guys were trying to get the ball down to tie the game. You got it down to Donovan Jones, clutch shot down, well drawn up play, get the ball down to him and let him score. The next one was a 3-point bucket. They knew you needed a 3, and you drew up an amazing play and got a 3. So I'm just that's why I said it. Cody reminds me of Steve Kerr. People might be like, whoa, hold up. But I'm like, no, dude.
I'll say whoa as well. But yeah, but thank you.
In that regard, you are very good at drawing up plays coming out of a timeout. Not every coach can do that. Now, I'm speaking from coaching experience, very small coaching experience. It's not always easy to think on the fly. You have all these plays in your head that you got to figure out of that particular situation. And based on your experience, you've been able to, like, you know, slow things down when in the heat of the moment and be able to draw those plays up. I'm curious, Cody, does that come from just like the coaching experience you've had, or do you study other coaches as far as like maybe the Steve Kerr? Is there anybody you look up to from a basketball side of things that you've studied to be able to, you know, execute in those moments?
Well, there's lots of guys I look up to, but I got to get a ton of credit to Coach Fortner. You know, he's my assistant coach, and the play call stuff, that's more on, you know, things that I've kind of tried to create and stolen other places and things like that. But Coach Fortner's fantastic for me. I mean, the guy's coached for 45 years and he's old school. But you know, he's been around for a long, long time. So I've learned a lot from him. Also, I mean, like I said, I played till I was 31 and I had a different coordinator, a different head coach. I mean, in San Francisco, I had 2 different head coaches and 3 different coordinators in 3 years. And that's crazy. So I've learned from so many different guys, and I know it's a different sport, but coaching's coaching, right? I mean, the game's different, but coaching and learning how to present a game plan and teach a game plan. You know, you ask our guys how much we have a lot of things, but we're not always calling those things throughout the game. And if you've seen the flow of it, I mean, we're not calling play every time, you know, but if we have things that we need at the end of the game, you know, we have our little menu of plays. And if I call a timeout, there's things that we worked on throughout the year. You know, the play that Huddy's hit, I mean, we've probably ran it 15, 20 times in practice and never ran it in the game. You know, the play to Donovan at the end, that's something we run a little bit more regular, but my long-winded answer to it is I've tried to just learn as much as I can from other coaches that I've had the opportunity to play for. Brad Stevens said it multiple times. He never goes to a 3rd grade basketball game without a notepad. You never know when you're going to steal something from somewhere else. We have lots of things in our system that we've taken from other coaches around the league. I mean, we've got names of, and we have no shame in the game. We give them credit. You know, if we stole something from them, we're gonna put their name on it. So, my long-winded answer is those calls. I appreciate the compliment, thank you, but give credit to my kids for executing those things. We just don't draw them up in the dirt. You know, I got that from Mike McCarthy. We are organized on what we're doing. Those plays we've ran a number of times in practice, and we have them on our sheet. I open it up when we sit down. Hey guys, you want this, or this? The players tell me what they want and we go run it. You know, I mean, I'm an analogy guy. I know it's corny, but I say, hey, you know, you guys got the keys to the car. You got to drive it. Here's what it is. What do we want? Okay, let's go run it. So we were just fortunate the kids were able to execute and us to be able to get a win.
So dope.
Yes,
all right, fellas, anybody got any more questions? So before we let Coach Pickett go?
Yeah. Are you excited to hang out with the North this week? I'm excited for Wednesday. I'm excited for Tuesday. I know you're thinking about Tuesday. Coeur d'Alene's got a nice team. They got some guys. I can't wait to see you on Wednesday, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited for the #1 team in the state to come into the Thunderdome and see if they can be a little bit more successful than Owyhee. But I know first things first, but are you excited for this week?
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm about to call you and pick your brain on these guys up there because I know you know them as well as anybody. So, yeah, I've got about, 12:30 here. I've got 2 hours to get my mind right and try to figure out Coeur d'Alene here. And I know they're a very good team. And once we get by that game, win or lose, whatever happens, we'll try to figure out the next one. So, yeah, I'm excited. And, you know, put the little first part of the holidays behind us and got to get to work here. So I got 2 hours to figure it out. So, yeah, I'm going to be picking your brain, AJ. Give me some insight here. I'm going to miss the post-Falls game on Thursday, which is crazy to me. We'll talk about that another time, but I'm not going to be able to be at the Thursday game, which is kind of wild, but my guys will hold it down for me. So
for sure.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Ty, anything else before we let him go?
I think we touched on a lot of the bases there.
Hey, I'm going to give you guys some props, man. You guys don't get enough credit. You know, I've told a couple of you individually what you guys are doing for high school basketball is second to none, man. It's amazing. You know, I don't want to talk bad about anybody else, but there's other people that could and should be covering, and they're not. So what you guys are doing is awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
hey,
Coach.
we appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much, man. Hey, we'll let you get back to go cover film, get everything ready. You said you got 2 hours, so get down to business, and we'll see you this week at the games. All right, my man?
Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, we'll see you, Coach.
All right, Coach.
Awesome conversation with Coach Pickett. We're excited. So, you know, before we get into this week, because AJ, I want to actually break down what's coming up this week. That's the biggest piece of this episode, really, is really talking about what we got. We got the North coming down. That's going to be huge. But now, since we still have the momentum of talking about Eagle, I think it's super important that we talk about Donovan Jones. Wow, there's my squeak. Once a week at least, I squeak. Coming off of sickness, everybody, give me a break, all right? Donovan Jones, we're going to give him the hidden gem. I mean, that dude absolute monster. Specifically in that game against Owyhee, when his team needed him the most, he came through for him. And I know we've all talked about it after the game. I mean, it was one of those things where you're like, dang, dude. And he had this quiet confidence is what I called it, and I love that. I love it. He's just like a good dude, good character, but he could feel the energy of the game too. I think that's when he was having fun out there. And that's the coolest part about it, is Donovan was having fun out there. And that's what you want. So let's talk about Donovan Jones and his performance last week and why we gave him the Hidden Gem for this week. I'll start with AJ and we'll go over to Ty as well.
Man, well, I mean, I'm going to mention something and then I'll get more to Donovan, but the Jack Payne effect. Okay. Donovan Jones is not a guy who has been a big time scorer. He's kind of a Draymond Green type where I've talked about it before. I think he's one of the best, if not the best overall facilitator in the SIC. And we saw with some of those passes he has, Coach Pickett puts him in position to play quarterback and make decisions at the high post and whatnot. Extremely good rebounder, very good defensively. He can guard 1 through 5. But when Jack Payne went out, you saw, I mean, the kid is so smart. He's not going to Stanford on accident. He realized I have an advantage as a scorer now with Jack Payne, who may be the best overall defender possibly in Idaho. And Donovan just became a lot more offensive. And that was, for me, just shows his IQ. And he dominated physically. He's a Division I tight end. He's going to tight end university. So he's a big, strong, physical mismatch. And he took advantage of that. And it was unbelievable to watch. I've coached a kid for 4 years. I've known the kid since I got out here. And he was my favorite football player. I was very vocal about that. And he's just one of my favorite kids. And it was so great and heartwarming to see him have that type of success and have that type of game on that type of stage, which was, since I've been out here for 5 years, the best atmosphere I've been a part of for any game of any sort, any sport. It was amazing. But he's so special up here. His leadership is special. Everybody loves him. He's even a better person than he is athlete. And that's saying something, because he's a special athlete. It's not every day you got a kid from Idaho going and playing, Pac-12 football at, like I said, maybe the top school for tight ends in the entire country for football is Stanford. I could name 5 guys off the top of my head who are big-time NFL tight ends from Stanford. So just great to see what Donovan Jones was able to do. For them, that is going to be a huge win moving forward. There was already a tough, confident group, and now they feel like they can beat anybody. I'm excited to see what they do this week, but I think it's also going to be beneficial to Owyhee as well. I'm not going to jump into that as much because this is about Donovan. But Donovan Jones was the best player on the floor, and there were 2 other Division I athletes on the floor, and they were basketball players, but Donovan Jones took it somewhere else. The clutch gene was there, and he put on a show for us, and I will never forget it.
Ty,
what do you got to say, man, about Mr. Donovan Jones?
Well, AJ touched on a lot of it for sure. I've loved his, like you described it, Shane, his quiet confidence, although it's getting a little bit more vocal, and I think I might even like that as well. He looked at us a couple of times. He's like, "Hey, watch this," and it's fun to have that interaction with him. We've talked about kids that might think they might try and big time us a little bit, think they're a little too good for the Idaho Underground Sports crew. We know who you are. It's all right. But Donovan Jones is not one of those kids. Always shows us the utmost respect, and he's a leader on the court. He's a leader on the field, and it's been fun to watch. I've seen a couple now very magical games that he was the centerpiece of, and I think we're witnessing something pretty special here in Idaho with, like you said, a Stanford commit. So really, really fun time, and glad we're getting to know these guys. It's been a fun ride.
Donovan's an absolute stud. I think what most people will remember is, he had an amazing performance all around, and they'll remember is like it was the shot we were talking about with Cody Pickett. They had to tie the ball game up. They were down. There was like 1 second left when the ball actually ended up going in or something close to that. He had a quick little hook shot, boom, little floater that went in. But in my opinion, the most important shot of that game, and people might forget this, was his 3. They were down by 4 points. Momentum had completely shifted. That was one of those games that reminded me of like the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. As a boxing fan, to use an analogy, like every single swing you thought someone was going to go down. So like you're on edge the entire time, like because Owyhee comes out, hits a bucket, you're like, oh, that's the end of the game. Like and same thing for you. Oh, that's the end of the game because they were up by 2. It's like you just felt like as soon as somebody hit a bucket, that was it. But they both kept responding. But Owyhee was up by 4, and that was a big piece. It was like, they're not just up by a bucket, they're up by, and if they don't score here, it's probably over. And Donovan hits a 3. He just sits there, calmly nails it, and gets it back within 1. And that was a huge bucket to me. And that just showed like he wasn't just doing things like in the paint. Dude was like, okay, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to take it and I'm going to shoot it because I'm leading my team today. And he did it. And I love that. The kid is an absolute stud. I shouldn't even say kid. The young man is an absolute stud. He's going to be doing big things at the next level for football. Can't wait to see his progression there. And, you know, we've already touched base a lot on this game. Okay. The game of the week, Eagle and Owyhee. We talked about the atmosphere. I mean, for those who didn't see it, we had a light show, you know, the fog machine going up, the DJs up at the top, everything we were talking about pregame. I thought it was even better than anything I could have imagined. Like, dude, this is actually pretty sweet. I mean, the line going around the outside of the stadium, people couldn't even get in. It was like so many people there. The whole town, I'm talking Middleton, Boise, Eagle, Meridian, Cuna, everyone's out at this game because it was like, we want to go catch this. Standing room only. It reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys Stadium where they have the standing room seats only. And that's all that was left. Like you had people standing. Ty said it, 15 cameras around the baselines. Like, unbelievable atmosphere. The student sections and the parents alike, for the most part, were pretty good, standing, cheering, doing their thing. It was loud in there, and it was amazing. And both teams responded pretty well, in my opinion, considering the spotlight was on them hardcore. That's a lot of pressure to have, like in that stadium. But both teams responded well. Game of the week, game of the year. Is there anything else we want to touch base on in regards to this game that we haven't said already, guys?
I want everybody to know how big of a fan we are of not just Idaho basketball, but both of these teams. So I'm going to ask you, Shane, to give me an update of that Owyhee game real quick, because you're keeping track of them up in California, and I can't even function right now thinking about what's going on.
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that. So shout out to Malachi from Meyer Media, right? He just posted the final. Owyhee won 66-54. So what's interesting about this, guys, at the time of this recording, Owyhee was down by 4 with 4. It was 49-45 with 4.5 minutes left. The final score 66-54. That's a 22-point swing in the last 4.5 minutes of that game. So
and that's huge because they played a team that has actually, I believe, a couple Division I commits. They have a kid that is a Long Beach State commit. That's a California team that was going to give them trouble size-wise. Hey, Idaho's coming, baby.
Let's go. So with that being said, we're going to try to bring on Coach Harrington as well. Hopefully next week, give us a little bit of update when this tournament's over. When you guys are watching this, the tournament's still going on in California. Hopefully we'll have a recap from Coach Harrington. But yeah, we do love Owyhee as well, guys. Don't get it wrong. Like, obviously we're spotlighting Eagle because Donovan Jones and Coach Pickett were on here, and they obviously won that 4 overtime battle. But Owyhee came to play. Ty, you mentioned something to us after the game. And I totally agree with it. You said, Owyhee didn't play bad, especially considering Jack Payne was out. Like, I thought when he fouled out, that they played extremely well. He was in foul trouble the whole game. They played well enough to win that game. And any other team, they would have won that game, in my opinion. I think
William Campbell is a top 5 basketball player in Idaho, in my opinion. The freshman Jackson Rasmussen, he came in, put in some really good minutes, offensive, defensively. Titus Bailey played stellar defense. They did a lot of things very well. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. You can't win them all. Simple as that.
I was thinking about that actually this morning, about how they played most of that game without Jack Payne. And I was like, man, they still, because Eagle's really solid. They got a lot of pieces. They're coached by one of the top coaches, as we've seen in the state, and all of those guys except for Jack Payne are back next year. So anytime they play without Jack, geez Louise, it's just a little taste of what we're going to get next year. Because Owyee's building something. We know that. We've seen that. And I touched on it a few minutes ago, and I said I wasn't going to go into it. I will now. That loss for Owyhee, I don't predict they probably lose another game in the SIC. I think that is going to do nothing but fuel those guys. I know there's a little rivalry there between Eagle that not a lot of people know about yet, but you will soon, because a lot of those young kids had to decide between Eagle and Owyhee, Miguel Taylor, he considered Owyhee, and then all these different things. So there's a lot there. There's something that was the first loss Owyhee's ever had in the history of the program in the state of Idaho. It was to Eagle. And like I said, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't quite know, storylines and whatnot, that made that game extra special, extra crazy. And I can't wait for the next one. But Owyhee is here to stay. That loss is going to benefit them, and it's going to be trouble for everybody else. And St. Bernard, who was favored to win that game heavily, just had to pay for it. So Owyhee's real.
They're real. I also want to give a shout out to Preston Sherburne. You mentioned Titus Bailey, a couple big time players in that game. Preston hit some clutch threes. So Preston's my dog. Every time I play in Bam Jam, he happens to be at the scorers table, like running the scores for us at my particular my court. So it's kind of funny to me. Like him and I have that kind of like weird connection. He probably thinks I'm annoying. I don't care. He's my dog. So I give him props when he deserves it. And
I have that connection with Whit Miller. Very similar.
Do you really?
Yep. Very, very similar.
I'm trying to build that connection with Jack Payne, but he's not having it.
So shout out to Preston. No, Preston, for real, you did awesome. And a couple plays specifically for Preston. He hit some clutch threes, which was huge for them because their team were atrocious from the 3-point line. They were 21% from the 3-point line. That's not going to win you games. So that's one thing I want to touch base on. I think Coach Harrington knows that. But Preston was one of the guys who actually hit some buckets from deep. But his defense was phenomenal. He had a couple of times where he broke up an oop opportunity. Like he was playing big down low. He crashes the boards. He makes things difficult. So I thought Preston deserves a shout out as well. Why he's for real, everyone. Go ahead, AJ.
I want to bring something else up, and I know we're rolling on this, but this game is worth talking about. So at the end of regulation, it was 48-48, right? Kind of a lower scoring game, kind of middle tier. And then by the end of the fourth overtime, it was 80-76, which means when you get to overtime, every single shot is clutch, right? Every single shot's a big shot. And these dudes were hitting shot after shot after shot. And I was like, okay, we got a bunch of cold-blooded killers in the house. I mean, for me, down the road at a state tournament or a district tournament, that's going to come into play for some of these guys. When you
think about a game like that, and you're like, okay, I can do this. I've done this. I've been here.
I've hit big shots in big games and big moments. And because the deeper you get in the season, and you guys know this as coaches, that teams are going to force other guys they're going to try to take away Jack Payne, take away Liam Campbell, and have Sherburne and Bailey and Mack and those guys try and beat them. They're going to go back there. They're going to draw from there. That's why I think that was such a huge thing for both of those teams. It was just nonstop, huge shots. It was impressive. It was incredible. It was incredible.
So if you guys can't tell, that was a phenomenal game, and we were excited to talk about it. All right. So what we've also said before in this show, we were talking about Lake City coming down south again, along with some other teams from up north. So we don't want to disrespect Coeur d'Alene. It's Post Falls as well, right? It's Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, and Lake City. So the north is coming down south, and Lake City's coming down again. We got some big games with Lake City, though. This is going to be fun. I hope everybody who's paying attention to this understands where they're going, so you guys can go watch some good basketball. Okay, this is going to be some good basketball. There's some good teams playing, and a rematch of the state championship game from last year. Now, it's not the exact same teams. Obviously, Lake City's got a lot of returners. They're the dogs. Meridian, let's try not to squeak again. Meridian's coming in with, they got some momentum going, but it's new faces. It's not the same exact team. But we've got some exciting stuff. BK's playing, Eagles playing, Meridian's playing, and Lake City, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls are going to do a basically a round robin, kind of playing each team each night for a 3-day span. People are going to be tired, but again, kind of going to the preparation for like state tournaments and so forth. This is the same kind of style. You're going to be playing multiple games in a quick span of time, and this kind of gets you prepared for that as we get ready for the new year. So let's talk about our guys from Lake City. You guys know we're fanboys, especially AJ, coming down here. I'm going to start with Ty, though. Lake City coming down here as well as Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls. And what should we expect this week from these teams coming down?
It was really exciting to have Lake City come down. Was it 2 weeks ago already? Week and a half ago, yeah. Really exciting. This is way more exciting. These matchups are tenfold better. This is Idaho High School basketball at its peak. Between the Eagle game last week and now the slate of games we have this week, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. I think Lake City's going to have their hands full, but, I think like you just touched on, especially in the Meridian game, Lake City's got way more guys returning. Meridian, in my opinion, is still getting it figured out. They're kind of to me, that they're more well-rounded than Centennial, but they both kind of live and die by, the three-point line and whether or not they're hitting their shots or not. I think that Lake City's size, particularly against Meridian, is going to favor Lake City. I think the Warriors are going to have a hard time with Buchanan. But like I just said, if they can all get hidden from behind the three-point line, you get Vogel involved, you get Ledoux involved, you get, guys like Jaden Hudgens even. They have so many different pieces that can contribute. Whereas for me, Lake City they got their four-headed monster. Outside of that, I need to see more of their guys kind of step up a little bit. Nate Hawking could have a really big weekend out here. He's kind of been quiet in my opinion, but I think that he could come down here and, he's used to now traveling with the team, getting acclimated with everything that they've made this trip already. They looked a little sluggish last week when they were out here, and I think that's to be expected. But going into this week, I think now that they've been here, they've seen it, they're ready for it. So I think these local SIC teams better be ready.
I agree. AJ, what are your thoughts, man?
Hey, man, I mean, I am so jacked. Like this is, I think it's extremely beneficial for Lake City because they came down once already. Guru just touched on it. They played 3 games in 3 days. And they won a tournament. Okay, that's what the state tournament looks like. Now they're coming back and they're playing 3 potential state title contending teams in 3 days. How will they handle that? I think they potentially lose one of these games. Okay, they're going to have a game, and we saw it against Timberline. I know it's Timberline, and that's what Timberline does to people, but we saw them have a game that if they have a game the way they did against Timberline, they'll lose to one of these teams. They'll lose at Eagle. They'll lose at Meridian. They'll lose. I think they'll be ready to go for Meridian, first game. I think the next day at Eagle and Coach Pickett, I think that's going to be a tough one. But Eagle also has to play Coeur d'Alene, who's Stephen Burgess, Cameron Cope. That duo there, they're in our top 10. They're a problem. Cameron Cope's big-time football player we've talked about. He's got that Austin Bolt motor. He's going to make Donovan Jones work in a different way. So that's going to be a fun matchup. And then, of course, Post Falls coming down as well. They're a little undermanned this year, lost a lot of guys, but their point guard, Jack Sortino, can give anybody fits. He's a problem too. But this Lake City Meridian game, I believe we talked to Cherry, is going to be our game of the week because it's a state championship game rematch. Meridian did beat Lake City this summer at Meridian. Ramos and Mitchell went at it. That was fun to watch. Lake City's got that sour taste in their mouth. I've talked to those guys. They got a lot of respect for Meridian. They got a lot of respect for Eagle and BK. They know about Blake Hawthorne, the Battle of the Blakes, which we've talked about even before the season started on, I think, our first podcast. That's going to be a serious matchup to watch as well on Thursday at 1 p.m. at BK. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Lake City handles traveling for a second time in 2 weeks and how they handle these matchups, because it's going to take a little bit more out of them than I think the other matchups like Ty was talking about. But I think Zach Johnson's going to be vital, especially against, Meridian. I think Ethan Pierce does a good job of defending bigger players. I know Buchanan's a different animal. He's the top rated recruit maybe we've had in a long time, but Zach Johnson, I think, is going to be vital to them winning all 3 of these games. And Nathan Hawking as well. He hasn't been as assertive offensively. I don't think he needs to be. I think he's more of a slasher, move without the ball, catch and shoot open threes, big, strong defender, rebounder. But I agree with Ty. I think the more he gets acclimated, the better they're going to get. And the more they're going to be able to separate themselves. But, just so people know, it's Lake City at Meridian, Coeur d'Alene at Eagle, and Post Falls at BK on Thursday, all at 7 p.m.
Tuesday.
Sorry, Tuesday. Thank you. That's why we do this together on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we've got Lake City at Eagle. We've got Coeur d'Alene at BK, and we've got Post Falls at Eagle. At Meridian. That's why we do this together. Thank you. And then Thursday, Cody Pickett is going to miss Post Falls at Eagle, like he was saying. And then you've got Lake City plays at BK, and then Coeur d'Alene is at Meridian. Correct? There we go.
Are those all at 1 o'clock as well? I did have a question on that.
Those are all at 1 o'clock, so those guys can get home. is what I believe. I got to confirm that. But those are all going to be great games. If you have a chance to go watch Lake City, I would like to see people get out to games more often. More of you hoopers who follow us. If you don't have a game, go watch the best players in the state play. Go watch the best teams in the state play. It's a blast. Just like we saw that Eagle Owyhee game, a lot of people didn't have games and people showed out, and that was what it was all about, man. To create that environment was amazing. But this week is going to be a late Christmas gift for all basketball fans. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a great way to go into 2022. I'll tell you, yes, I want to echo what AJ said about that. If you're a player that isn't playing right now, like you don't have a game or something, go catch these games. If you're a coach, go catch these games. You can learn a lot from being around there, and it's just cool to be part of the atmosphere. So I will echo that. Coaches, players alike, fans, parents, go check out these games. It's a blast. I love seeing, it's not just the players. I love seeing parents of people that I know that I coached that are just hanging out by themselves watching the game because they want to come watch good basketball. I think that's cool. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, that's awesome. Come watch good basketball and appreciate what you have here in Idaho, because some people just don't realize what we have. And it's very rare that you get to see this type of a 3-day matchup, I should say, not a tournament, a 3-day matchup with these 6 teams. That's pretty special. We don't get that all the time in Idaho. That's for dang sure. The other thing I was going to say, I wanted to touch base on Lake City's matchup. So what I was thinking about before we started recording was this. If you don't have size, you better have one of the better shooters. That's how Pocatello was able to match with Lake City, is because Julian shot out of his mind to stick with them. But they didn't have any size to match with them down low or, get physical with the rebounding and so forth. So even when Lake City was struggling to shoot, they were still getting boards and crashing and stuff. Timberline, however, was able to make them struggle a little bit because that AJ down there causing a little bit of havoc. You couldn't drive and get little floaters and layups and easy buckets down low. Even Blake Buchanan was struggling to get buckets because they had some size down low. Granted, they didn't have any shooters to really, offset anything there. They could play good defense, but they couldn't get any buckets to go. And you can't win games if you don't put the ball in the hole. But here's why I think BK is going to be the biggest struggle, or be the biggest matchup for Lake City. And that's my opinion. I think because the Battle of the Blakes, like you were saying, that's going to cause some struggles for them. I think Lake City can beat Meridian. I think Lake City can beat Eagle. I really do. I think that the matchups they have, the way that they are big and dominant, I do think that they can beat both of those teams. I think BK, especially with it being the third game of the trip for Lake City, earlier game too, you're playing 2 games, and then an earlier game on Thursday. It might be, your legs are a little tired. I don't know. I think that's where they might fall. I think that's where they trip up, is against BK. I really do. And that's, for those who are listening, that's one of our 4A front runners, but 4A stacked at the top. I mean, holy cow. But I mean, BK is solid with Blake Hawthorne and the rest of their crew as well. So anyway, that's what my thoughts were, is the matchups of these games for Lake City. I think the tougher matchup is actually BK, but I respect everything you're saying there too. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why AJ and Ty know more about the sport of basketball than I do, apparently, when it comes to all these.
I would say I think that's a very, very, very good point. I mean, matchup wise, McGarvin, Hawthorne, Hunter kind of supplement exactly what Lake City is doing with, their big 3. So I think that's an excellent point, and that could very well be, I don't want to call it a trap game because BK is talented, but I would say Lake City's the favorite in that for sure.
Totally. And here's one thing. Do you remember, Ty, at the end of the state championship game, we were talking with some of the Lake City guys after they had just lost, and, Buchanan was talking about how he had lost 2 years in a row in the state championship game, one with Moscow and then the next one with Lake City. And then he was talking about Rowbury. And he's like, we knew about Rowbury, but we didn't know anything about 30. That's what they called him, as 30. It was McKay Anderson. And McKay had himself an amazing state championship game. I mean, he was the X factor in that one. Dominated, but he's like, we didn't know 30 was going to do it because number 30 did him dirty. That's that, the whole the sign that came up, number 30 will do you dirty. But that's my question, is against Lake City, whether it be Meridian, Eagle, or BK, who's going to be 30, right? Who's going to be that McKay Anderson factor for these teams? Like, is it going to be Ramos for Meridian? Is it going to be Gage Jones for Eagle? Who's it going to be? Because we already know, like, the Rowbury, right? We know it's Blake Hawthorne. We know some of the big dudes that are going to be playing, like the X factors there, but who's the next guy that's going to step up and take that, game to the next level? And that's what's going to be interesting to watch. I think all of those teams have that ability to have number 30 or have the McKay Anderson effect, have that X factor who comes in there and shows out. It's just a matter of who does it. And that's what's going to be exciting. That's why everybody should be going out to these games and watching them, because you never know when you're going to see one of those types of games from a number 30 and when they're going to do you dirty. So I want to ask you guys, Ty and AJ, so we've got Lake City at number 1 in the state for 5A right now, but I want to know, I really want to touch briefly on the power rankings as 5A, just for the top 4 teams in the state right now in 5A. I'm going to start with Ty. Who do you think? We haven't even discussed this as a group right now, but let's make some arguments for some teams before we even push these out.
Can we do top 6?
Sure,
Yeah,
AJ. We'll go ahead and do top 6.
Okay, good.
All right. Keeping Lake City where they're at, number 1. Could be an unpopular choice here, and I realize that foul trouble is a part of the game, and that needs to be addressed and can't happen again. But Jack Payne not playing in that Owyhee Eagle game changes a lot. It just does. So I got Lake City. I still have Owyhee. I'm going to give Eagle a nod and put them above Madison. I'll put Madison 4. Who did we have 5 prior?
Mountain View.
Mountain View. So Mountain View 5, and I would probably say Meridian 6.
Well, okay. I mean, that's exactly what I would probably say. I mean,
we work together.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about it before because I messaged you and I said, "What are the power rankings?" Because I was really curious to see what you guys thought. Because it's like, hey, let's put Eagle above Owyhee, but Meridian just beat Eagle. But
I can't do it.
I mean, I know. And then Mountain View slapped Meridian. So it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? But it shows the parity. And I think we're going to – I like your response. Hey, there wasn't enough games. Let's wait until this week because Centennial, Mountain View, Rocky, all those teams are back east playing Thunder Ridge, Orem, Utah – all those, they're all playing those same teams. So after this week, I think we'll have a pretty good feel going into the true SIC league season and the IEL league season and back east, kind of where the power rankings are at. It's going to be a crazy week of basketball because there's going to be so many games going on with Owyhee over there and all those teams back east who are in our top 12. And then, of course, Lake City and those guys. So I would say you have to keep Owyhee second as well because of the Jack.
Just after a win like today, I mean,
exactly.
Reestablish themselves right up there.
Yeah, I think the Jack Payne factor, and that's something that Jack has had problems with.
This isn't new, and that's why I said it's a part of the game that needs to be addressed. But I mean, you can't ignore that he wasn't on the court.
Yeah, 100%. And if you watched what he did with Boise last year, Boise was 6th or 7th in the league and made a run to the tournament and then upset Rigby.
Yeah, they were Final Four.
Yeah, and they were down 2 to this same Lake City team. They were with Jack Keesby, who's now playing at NIC. You could say a more loaded offensively. I mean, obviously these guys are a year older. Blake Buchanan is a different player, but a just as loaded Lake City team, and they got with 2.5 minutes to go. It's a 2-point game, and Jack Payne fouls out, and they lose by 18. Yep. So I mean, the Jack Payne factor is real. He has to find he's such an unbelievable shot blocker that he's going to be aggressive that way. And guys like Donovan Jones, who are very high IQ and know him well and understand what's going to benefit his team most and what he needs to do could be difficult for Jack. But also if they come across some referees that are going to let these guys play, because 2 of Jack's fouls were like, what are you doing? He volleyball spiked one off the backboard. He fouled the backboard, if anything. And they try to just change the game that way. So Jack, if he's able to play aggressive, why he's not going to be a team that's probably going to lose. But if Jack gets in foul trouble, why he could probably lose to a Timberline or a Centennial, or I think Meridian's going to be a difficult matchup for them physically once Davis Thacker comes back. That could be a good game. But I agree, man. I think Owyhee has to stay at 2. Eagle are my boys. I want Eagle to win the whole thing this year, so everybody knows. Go Mustangs. But I think their win today for sure kind of solidifies it for me. And then it's going to be fun to see what happens this week, though.
So the reason I brought this up And just so everyone's listening understands, this wasn't planned to talk about this specifically on the show. We kind of debated whether or not we should talk power rankings, whatever. But I decided to bring it up here anyways, because this is what happens behind the scenes when we're trying to put together power rankings. Like, we legitimately don't always agree with stuff. So like AJ will bring up a point, Ty will bring up a point, I'll bring up a point. And then it's like, no, like it's tough.
Of course, today when you're looking for some good content, we're just like, yeah, we agree.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I actually sat down before the show and I was like, because I told Cherry's like, what's the game of the week? I said, I think it's got to be Meridian Lake City because it's a rematch of last year's state title and they're both top 5 teams. And I was like, wait, hold on. And I thought about it and I was like, no, Meridian's not above Mountain View and Mountain View is going to be 5. Yeah. And so I was like, never mind, it's top 6. That's why I said, can we do top 6? Because I want to give Meridian their shout out because they did beat Eagle and they did it convincingly.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah, this is the coolest part about the season right now, though, is we're seeing some very good basketball, and that's good. That's good. That means it's going to be very competitive when we get into league play and we get ready for the district tournament and everything going on. That's the fun part about it. And we're starting to see these teams start to come to. Now, the last thing I want to touch base on, I'll briefly state it. If you guys are not paying attention, AJ mentioned it. The Eastern Idaho Holiday Shootout starts tomorrow, which will be the day that this is released, so Tuesday the 28th. There's some very good teams over there from Idaho. I mean, AJ mentioned it. You said Mountain View, Thunder Ridge, Centennial. I think there's Orem, there's Rocky, Highland, Rigby. I don't know who I'm missing, but
so you said Centennial, but Orem is actually a team that beat Hillcrest handily. Like gave Hillcrest their worst loss of the year. I think they have 2 losses, both the Utah teams. And Orem's going to be I think they play Mountain View tomorrow. And I think they also get Centennial as well. So that's going to be a tough game for those guys. But yeah, Rocky, Centennial, Mountain View, then you like Thunder Ridge, who's in our top 12, Rigby, and then Orem. And I think there's a few other teams, but that's going to be a great one. And we're going to find out a lot about our top 12.
Yeah, totally. So I want everyone to listen and know, like, yeah, we're here in the Valley this week. We're going to be covering some of these big games with Lake City coming down. But don't forget, Eastern Idaho's got an awesome tournament with some great teams as well, and I'm sure there's going to be coverage there as well. And we'll get you the updates as soon as we get them as well. So if you guys get scores or whatever, shoot them to us through our Instagram page, and we'll get them all posted and whatnot for everybody else. So with that being said, I want to remind everybody to go follow Ty over at Boise Sports Talk. He is the graphic design guru, is what we'll call him. He is the artist of the entire network. That's what it separates him from the rest of the media outlets out there. The dude knows how to use his phone. I'm going to just say it. I've never met someone be able to do it from his phone. Like, holy crap. Most graphic designers are using their computers and their nice fancy stuff. Like, maybe one day Ty will do that. But right now he's using his phone. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to learn from him, he just charges $997 for a course, and you guys can sign up with him.
Let me know.
Seriously, DM him if you want to learn how to make the graphics like Ty does. Dead serious. He's got a 2-month course for $997. Okay, so EBC Media, that's AJ's page. It's EBC_media. Go follow him. Cherry, our videographer, making those sick films with sick reels for us. Cherry_films with a Z_. And then you can go follow me as well at Game Time Guru on Instagram. That's our Instagram handles. We just want to remind everybody to share this, subscribe to this channel on YouTube, and share it with your friends and family. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. We're excited to bring you more content, and we'll be coming to you next week with another episode. Take care.